Okay, it's time to review the ninth game from Bobby Fischer's My 60 Memorable Games. It's the game that was against Walther. So here it's listed, Walther versus Fischer. Takes place in Zurich in 1959. Now this is in ChessBase. Let's open it up. And one of the things that I like to do in ChessBase is to go to the opening classification, and this will go into the opening key. The opening key is based on the Encyclopedia of Chess Openings, but it will tell us very quickly where the game belongs. And we can see here that it belongs in B99, and this is a Sicilian. It is a Najdorf and 6 bishop G5. Now, all of these games, and here is the Walther-Fischer game listed for us as occurring at this location in the key. All of these games have this position, and that's how they get into this location in the key. It's interesting to look at the rest of the key. If we go up a little bit, we see here B20 is where the Sicilian defense starts. And they've given a little note here to say B20 through B90 is the Sicilian defense. And so we can see here, for example, B70 is the dragon, B80 the Scheveningen, and then with B90 we begin the Najdorf. Now, within B90 there are variations. For example, B92. The Opushinsky variation. We've seen the Opushinsky variation already in Bobby Fischer's games. That was game 4 against Hermann Pilnik in Argentina, where Pilnik against Bobby's Najdorf played 6 bishop E2. In this particular game, we're not going to get bishop to E2 on the 6th move. Instead, we're going to get bishop to G5. And that's going to take us down right here to 94. That's the beginning. So B94 through B99 are all having to do subvariations of bishop to G5. So down here, if I just open this back up again, we were all the way down here in the classification scheme right here. This is where the games occur now, or where this game is classified. Now, if you look at this, there's certainly a lot of theory. And people sometimes complain about, oh, that opening has too much theory, I don't want to learn it. And I would encourage you to go ahead and play these openings, learn the 5 moves that it takes to get into the Najdorf, and if you want to play the white side of it, play bishop G5. Why? I mean, you're not playing against the book. You're not playing against a computer. All you have to do is know more than the guy you're playing against. And since you'll be playing somebody rated similar to your level, then both of you are really on equal footing. So I would encourage you that if you're interested in playing some of these, you know, the Najdorf, the 6 bishop G5 Najdorf, or the Opushinsky, or the dragon, or whatever, to go ahead and play that opening and gradually learn more and more about the opening. You don't have to know everything about an opening to play it. So there's a word of encouragement. Now, in this video, I'm very interested as to whether or not I can replay these moves from memory. Why is that? Well, I'm using memorization as a way of learning the game, of understanding the game. I'm not using memory techniques or anything like that. I'm simply remembering the game because of its logical coherence. Fischer would be attacking a piece, or he'd be defending in a given position. So his moves and his opponent's moves have to make some logical sense. That's what I'm trying to understand, and as a result of that, being able to memorize it. So I think it could be, or it is at least my attempt and my way forward to get better at chess. You know, every now and again, grandmasters will give a demonstration, or they'll have people put requests upon them, and they'll show them a position. Do you recognize this position? Do you recognize this position? And then over and over, maybe 10 different positions, and they'll say, oh yeah, that's from so and so and so and so 1953, wasn't that? That type of thing. Grandmasters and very strong players have a database in their brain of former games that they've studied. So that's what I'm trying to develop now. Will it work? Will it raise my rating? I don't know. We're going to find out. In any event, let me start up Lucas Chess and let me bring the game up and let's go through it. All right, I have opened up Lucas Chess and gone to the Memorize a Game feature. And here you see Walther and Fischer, Zurich, 1959. So let's go ahead and learn it. Here is some of the training history that I've been doing. You see, when I first started learning it, I had 24 errors. So it's not always easy to understand a game. I'll be playing the black side. Bobby's playing the black side. So that's my side. And here we go. We're going to get into a Najdorf. Let's see if I can do that. Sometimes I don't know. Let's see. D4, CD, knight takes D, knight to F6, attacking the pawn and virtually requiring this knight to come on to C3. And now the signature move of the Najdorf, A6. And here's where we get bishop to G5, one of the most popular replies. E6, F4, bishop to E7, queen to F3. Bobby now plays knight on B to D7. He wants to get that knight there immediately, and Walther wants to get castled. Now, I think Fischer might play his queen up to C7 for the reason of protecting this pawn, which is now under a bit more pressure because this rook is here. And also maybe to prevent this bishop from coming out, although I don't know. I don't know if that's part of the plan for white ever. But here is bishop to D3 because now the C4 square is certainly unavailable. All right, now what are we going to play? Isn't this B5 now? Yes, this is B5 right now. And here we are right in the key, and Walther decides to capture rather than play the rook on H to E1. So bishop takes knight, knight takes bishop. Now the rook comes over. Rook on H to E1, and Fischer wants to finish his development. And that's a nice bishop attacking this pawn, which is pinned to the queen. And Walther secures his king a little bit more, I think, in view of the fact that Bobby is bringing his rook onto C8. So with the king, the white king further secured, as opposed to this black king standing in the middle of the board, I don't understand. I would have castled like 3 moves ago. I would be a move behind in development, but my king would be over here on the king side. But maybe that's not even a good idea because of what's coming. G4, knight D7 getting out of the way. G5, knight goes over to B6, I assume defending this square from this knight, perhaps having intentions to go up to the 4th rank. I don't know. The pawn onslaught continues. Bobby is not going to take, although, no, well, because then the knight would come over and take, even though this pawn is pinned. So Bobby's not going to take. He pushes his pawn to E5, and this knight here is a hero made of steel. Walther lets it sit there and instead pushes forward his attack to the F6 square. G takes F, G takes F, bishop has to come to F8. And now, does this knight on d4 move? Not a chance. Knight to d5, attacking the queen. Knight takes knight. Pawn takes. Bishop does not take. Well, what about now, black? What about now? Can you take? Oh no, this pawn is still pinned. Bobby breaks the pin, and now the knight moves down to c6, giving check. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes pawn, bishop to e4, and the queen gets out of the way. Now, I mean, if you just look at this, these two rooks on the E and D file against this king trapped in the middle, it's horrible. Queen comes over here to h5. Notice the double attack. Well, there's an attack here on the f7 pawn, and there's an attack here on this pawn because of this pin. The queen comes back to c7, trying to lend some support. Is it now? Is it now that the queen comes back to c7? Oh, no, that's later. That's later. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead. Yeah. We were just talking about it. I was just talking about it. The pin. Queen coming here doesn't do anything to stop the pin. The king comes up here to c7. I almost missed that. Oh, this is not easy. Okay, so now the bishop comes over, attacking the rook. The rook comes over, and now the queen comes down and gives check, and the king escapes to b8. Well, it would seem to me that the point of this position is getting this pawn promoted. So the queen comes up, basically getting out of the way. And here, now the queen comes to c7, wanting to defend the 7th rank somehow. And Walther has the idea of coming up here and attacking down this file. So he begins. Fischer attacks the rook. I'm not sure what he's supposed to do. Rook comes over to c3. The queen does not come up to b6. The queen comes over instead onto b7, wanting to stay on the 7th rank. And now the pawn push. It's with tempo because of the attack on the bishop. Bishop comes to g7. Now the rook comes over. We're really loading up on this backward pawn. We've got 3 attackers on it. Bobby brings his bishop back to f8. 2 attackers, but there looks like a weak back rank, potentially. Bishop takes pawn, rook takes, and if rook takes, you would be a sad boy. But of course you would have queen takes, right? Let's see, rook takes, bishop takes. Oh, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Yeah. Rook takes, bishop takes. Rook take. Yeah, no, you'd be in trouble, wouldn't you? You could be in some trouble. Yeah. Yeah. Can't do it. But what you can do, and what Walther does, he takes the pawn. Check. And now comes down the rook. Queen is pinned and lost. Here, Bobby plays h5, which I think is a great move because he doesn't spend the move with queen takes rook. Instead, he's using his move to try to make his position a little bit better. And so now rook takes queen, and then king takes rook. It is here that Bobby says, I was ready to resign. The game is over. And yeah. He said, but then I just decided, to make a move and to see what he would do. All he has to do is bring his rook over here. It's really all he has to do. And he doesn't even have to do it now. He plays C3. I used to think, well, what does that do? Well, it certainly opens up this diagonal so he can just walk down it, so his king can just walk down it. So Bobby plays a move, just wanting to see what could be done. All he has to do is move his rook to C8. The bishop can't move, right? The bishop can't move. The rook can't move, right? The pawn is promoting. It's just, lights out. But he plays rook to A8. That's the wrong move. Because the path that he chooses is to give up the F7 knight. The F7 knight is worth at least 9 points. Perhaps he thought he was going to get a clean sweep of all 3 of those pawns, but he doesn't. He only picks up 2, and although white has the advantage here, this begins to just look like a game of chess. So we get these moves. Now, this is a good move. The king is driven back. It's a good move, further away from the A and B file. So now there's this discussion as to, well, let's just take the bishops off the board. No, Bobby would rather take off the rooks, and Walther seems to agree. This pawn, which is under attack, Bobby now secures. And it's time to try and promote these 2 pawns. Bobby comes to F6. Doesn't matter, he could have gone to F7. Now we have this pawn race, and here at this position, this is the critical position. I'm going to have to make a video about this position itself, but essentially, this square, really, F6, B6, is the issue. And this king has to be able to get this B pawn pushed onto F6. And the only way to do that is to get it there fast. Push B4, then move the king over to A5 and get that pawn moving, and then you'll be able to keep this king out of here. But Merthyr doesn't do it. And I'm not sure that that's blame. That's the correct pawn to move. I'm not sure it's blameworthy, that he selected the wrong pawn. Probably in your brain, you're just at this point flipping a coin in your brain. You're just saying, I don't know. But the problem can be seen right here, I think. Bobby's just bringing his king over. And what Merthyr wants to do is to bring his king forward. Really to A6, I would think. But he can't. He can't. Very frustrating. Yeah, these 2 pawns over here on the H file do not matter. So, Merthyr, Walther, I think at this point, is just out of inertia, advances the pawn, but it's not going to do it. Not going to do it. Now here's where things get, these moves get difficult to get the right order. Pawn comes forward. Now we're going to see a position coming up. Again, Walther will be very close to winning, but Bobby knows the requirements. Bobby knows the requirements, and really, I have to check on this, but I think really, honestly, if he just keeps his bishop here on this file, but the king cannot be allowed the white king cannot be allowed onto b5 because he's now got this. I mean, he is close. He is close to promoting the pawn. So it's not like he's, just played stupidly this king cannot be here because he could then push the pawn, and the bishop would be sacrificing itself for one pawn. So it's a difficult situation. So he plays his bishop here, plays his king back, and Bobby plays the bishop here. Obviously a problem. And now comes check. And if I started calling him Walther, I don't know. Walther plays king a4. He is one move away. One move. If he could get his king here, he will be able to promote the pawn. This is a bishop, a light squared bishop. This is a light squared corner. All that's needed is a bishop and pawn in that situation. So it will not do any good for this bishop to give up itself for just one pawn. And Bobby understands that. And how he understood that, did he calculate it? Had he seen it before? I don't know, but he knows. He knows. And here is a very tricky move. And I think Walther knows what he's doing here. This is not, because this king could move away, like, oh, well, I'll move there. And then when the bishop leaves, I don't know, come back or something. But no, that would allow eventually the king to get in there. Oh, well, of course he can't come back there. But let's say he came back here, then, the bishop would just go here, for example. And then the king gets in there. So Bobby knows, and he plays c5. Wow. So anyway, that's the game. Definitely bears a lot of study, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks very much, and we'll see you later.